Police continue probe into Sweden's worst mass shooting amid mystery about the 35-year-old suspect.
Belgium is shaken by the third metro shooting in 24 hours. One person is injured and two suspects are on the run. Public prosecutor believes that drug cartels are involved. Donald Trump, a real estate mogul turned commander-in-chief, have plans to kick Gazans out of their land to build a Middle East Riviera. But what do the neighbors and EU say?
Swedish police say they were still investigating the motive behind the country's deadliest mass shooting that claimed 11 lives on Tuesday. According to local media, the shooting at an education center in Örebro was carried out by a 35-year-old man who had been unemployed for a decade. Footage showed students hiding in a classroom as the mass shooting unfolded. Police said the suspect who died at the scene was not known to them prior to the event.
Han har vapenlicens för 4 vapen och samtliga de här 4 vapnen är beslagtagna. 3 av de vapnen fanns bredvid honom i samband med att polis säkrade honom där inne i byggnaden då. Våran bedömning och utifrån den förundersökning och det insamlingsarbetet som är gjort, det är ju att han har agerat ensam i det här dådet. Det är utifrån de uppgifterna vi har nu och det är det vi kan stå i just nu.
Meanwhile, Sweden's King Carl XVI Gustaf and his wife attended a church service on Wednesday in Örebro in commemoration of the victims. People lit candles at the site of the incident, which left at least 11 people dead, including the gunman, and at least 5 other persons seriously wounded. The school where the attack took place teaches adult dropouts seeking higher grades to access higher education or to complete their formal studies.
Another shooting has shaken Brussels, with gunfire reported near Clemenceau station in Anderlecht early Thursday morning, injuring one person. This comes just 24 hours after a similar incident at the same station, where armed youths fired at passers-by. 3 incidents in total with the shooting in Saint-Just station. Brussels' new public prosecutor, Julian Moisil, has vowed a zero-tolerance approach to drug trafficking and increased police crackdowns. Talking to the Belgian public broadcaster, Moisil said they have 2 suspects who are believed to be on the run at the moment, but also admitted that they don't know who they're actually dealing with. However, when asked by the journalist if these events are linked to drug trafficking, he replied with certainty, pointing out the location of the shootings. Moisil believes these are reprisals to conquer certain territories. Donald Trump's statements on the Gaza Strip have not fallen on deaf ears. The Israeli defense minister has already given orders to the army to prepare for the so-called voluntary departure of the Gazans. American control of the Palestinian enclave, expulsion of the Gazans into neighboring countries, and transformation of the Palestinian enclave into a Middle East Riviera. This is the plan of the US president. Even though the White House has since nuanced Trump's statement, concerns remain.
What Trump is proposing is clearly catastrophic for Gaza, but it would also be destabilizing for regional countries. It would be destabilizing for the broader region itself, and it would also have negative impacts on Europe itself. So let's for a second imagine 1 million Gazans being moved to Egypt, to a country with limited economic opportunities, a country with which they themselves, Gazans themselves, have little connection with, besides being neighbors. Do people really think that 1 million Gazan refugees will stay in Egypt? No. Thousands of them, tens of thousands, will seek better economic prospects further afield, including in Europe.
The US president has repeatedly suggested that 1.8 million people from Gaza could be displaced to the neighboring countries. This proposal echoes the forced displacement that followed the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 and 1967, an option repeatedly rejected by Egypt and Jordan.
This would be hugely controversial among among the Arab people who would see this as aiding and abetting the effective ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from their land. And in the case of Egypt, for instance, would be hugely controversial within the military and the security establishment, who have long seen this question of Gaza and the displacement of Gazans as something of a red line.
The European Union has merely reiterated its support for the two-state solution and stated that Gaza is an integral part of a future Palestinian state.
3 weeks into the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, over 500,000 Palestinians were finally able to return to their homes in northern Gaza. 22-year-old Mohammed, like many others, made the long journey north on foot with his family after 15 months of displacement. Despite limited access to internet and electricity, Euronews spoke to Mohammed about how his life has changed since he returned home just 1 week ago.
فلما اجينا بدنا ننزل نزلنا الساعة 7 الصبح. كان الطريق قدامنا يعني شبه صعبة جدا. فيش مية في الطريق، فيش أكل، فيش أي أنواع يعني طعام إن ناكلها على الطريق، وكانت الطريق صعبة جدا. قعدنا ما يقارب من وسط قطاع غزة لشمال قطاع غزة ما يقارب 5 ساعات مشيا على الأقدام، يعني ما أخذناش مواصلات ولا أي حاجة. كانت طريق صعبة جدا 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 علينا وإحنا جايين من الجنوب للشمال.
But once they arrived, the home that took Mohammed's family almost his whole life to obtain was in ruins.
صحيح أنا قاعد فيه. طبعا الدار اللي أنا فيها يعني من النص نصها رايح ونصها موجود، يعني بأي لحظة ممكن لا سمح الله طبعا لا سمح الله تقع العمارة فينا. يعني أنا قاعد ومخاطر على حالي وعلى أهلي وعلى أطفال أختي عشان بس يعني نقتوا من الشتاء والمطر.
Mohammed explains that his family was displaced 4 times since the start of the war, living in makeshift tents with little protection from the cold and rain. They returned home to have a roof over their heads, but now they fear it may collapse on them at any moment. Accessing food, water, and healthcare has become even more difficult since his return, despite the increase in humanitarian aid coming into Gaza.
يعني نروح على مناطق بعيدة عشان نجيب مية للشرب، مية يعني نستحمى فيها. وبعد اللي هو وقف إطلاق النار ازدادت الأمور أسوأ. يعني حاليا أنا بمشي ما يقارب كيلوات عشان أحصل مية للشرب، وهلقيت يعني فيش لا يعني مساعدات بتمرق عبر يعني منظمات إنسانية.
Although humanitarian organizations have increased their presence in the north, the complete absence of infrastructure means some areas remain impossible to reach. This has meant that thousands of people like Mohammed and his family still have little access to essential items. Despite the dire conditions, Mohammed, like many other Palestinians, said he has no intention of leaving his home.
Thousands of demonstrators gathered in cities across the US to protest the Trump administration's early actions, decrying everything from the president's immigration crackdown to his rollback of transgender rights and a proposal to forcibly transfer Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Hundreds of protesters in Austin marched through blocks around the state capitol, chanting and waving placards.
At the end of the day, we're a country of immigrants. Like, my family has been here for a while, but I come from immigrants, like a few generations ago, and everyone here are immigrants, and immigrants have built this country to what it is, and we can't turn our backs on the people that built this country and that are still contributing to this country.
The protests were a result of a movement that is organized online under the hashtags Build the Resistance and 5051, which stands for 50 protests, 50 states, 1 day. Websites and accounts across social media issued calls for actions with messages such as reject fascism and defend our democracy.
I lost my father, many of my friends in Syria. We will go back.
Diversi paesi europei hanno sospeso l'esame delle procedure d'asilo dei siriani dopo la caduta del regime di Bashar al-Assad in Siria. Tra questi la Germania, l'Austria e la Svezia, i principali paesi d'accoglienza per i profughi siriani nell'Unione Europea. L'Austria sta rivalutando lo status dei rifugiati siriani arrivati da meno di 5 anni e ha anche annunciato un programma di deportazioni. I diritti di rifugiati e richiedenti asilo siriani sono a rischio oggi in un'Europa in cui l'estrema destra continua a crescere prospettando regole sempre più stringenti contro l'immigrazione. E l'Unione Europea può intervenire su come gli Stati membri gestiscono i rifugiati di guerra? Lo vediamo su European Stories. Un'offensiva jihadista ha rovesciato il regime di Bashar al-Assad in Siria l'8 dicembre 2024. Il gruppo islamista ex-qaedista Hayat Tahrir al-Sham ha messo fine a 13 anni di guerra civile e a 24 di dittatura. L'HTS è considerato un gruppo terrorista da ONU e Unione Europea. La guerra civile siriana ha causato una delle più gravi crisi migratorie al mondo. Oltre la metà di una popolazione di 23 milioni di persone è stata costretta a fuggire. Più di 7 milioni restano sfollati in Siria. Quasi 5 milioni sono rifugiati nei paesi confinanti, in testa la Turchia. In Europa i rifugiati e i richiedenti asilo siriani sono oltre 1 milione. La maggior parte vive in Germania, Austria e Svezia. Da 12 anni la Siria è il primo paese di provenienza dei richiedenti asilo nell'Unione. Nel 2023 le domande di asilo sono aumentate del 17%. Oggi le restrizioni sulle procedure d'asilo mettono a rischio oltre 100.000 richieste.